Hello, my fellow nerds, and welcome to the Nerd Empire. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today, and I hope you all will enjoy today's reaction video. With that being said, let's get right into it, shall we? This next one by Sydney Watson. This is another major blow to the trans movement. The trans movement, in my opinion, has done a lot of irrevocable damage to the trans community, because the vast majority of the trans community just wants to go about their daily life and be left alone. But the very vocal minority has done nothing but bad for the trans community. They haven't really done anything good. Let's just say, I'd say they've done about 80 to 90% bad and 10 to 20% good. So, let us see what Sydney has to say in this video.
Oh no! Who could have predicted this? Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. Sorry about all of the black and the big jumper here. It's incredibly cold right now, and I don't have any heating in here, so I look like a homeless person, and it is what it is. Just a quick note as well before we get into this and do the video. Today is the last day that you can buy my Earl Grey tea at 50% off using the code WeDon'tWaste. So if you've been waiting to get some, now is the time, because after today that code won't work with the Earl Grey, but We Don't Waste will still work with Emerald Green and New York Breakfast, because once again these are teas that are expiring this month. I would love to not throw them away, because that's not something that I'm all about. So if you would like to try them, now is the time, and yeah, let's do the video. So I'm going to continue this trend of telling you all about the cultural and social wins that we are having as normal, non-insane people. Given that, I want to keep you all in good spirits as the world potentially implodes around us. Consider this as me doing some CPR on your little souls. Just call me Gaia, the goddess of life.
Gaia is Mother Earth.
Am I though? That is okay, Sydney. That's enough. Anyway, we have had a lot more news coming out recently about the ongoing decline of the trans movement, which, as most of you know by now, has had us around the throat for the better part of a decade. And not even in the fun way that the book talk girls think is a fun way, in the way that crushes your larynx. Which is actually kind of a good expression for how I feel about society right now. Crushing my larynx, because what are we doing? Personally though, I am seeing what I think is a bit of an acceleration towards protecting female spaces. Of course, this has been a thing over the last number of years. There are plenty of women and female groups that are speaking out about this, but I think it's recently that this has become a very common position, and I find that quite heartwarming. So I want to give you some examples of this to, do some more CPR on your little spirits. It's been a long day. You know the video is going to be a certain kind of flavor when I just start off with the weirdest crap, but here we are. So let's start with the biggest and newest. The International Olympics Committee is set to ban
Olympics ready to ban transgender athletes from all women's events. New policy may also bar female athletes with differences of sex development, possibly including boxers like Iman Khalif. I think this is a good thing, because transgender women are still biologically men. And despite what people think, it is very, very unfair for biological men to compete in women's sports. Because in basically every way, shape, and form, men have an advantage over women when it comes to sports. Especially for sports that have physical contact. We are bigger, we are stronger, we are more durable, and we are faster. So, how is it fair when a biological man comes in to compete with women. These women who have worked for years, if not decades, in their chosen field of athleticism, all for a man to just come in and beat them. How is that fair? And anybody who advocates for this, you do not care about women in one bit, in the least. All you care about is looking good for the masses, or pandering to these absolute retarded shitheads. It is and always will be completely unfair for transgender women who are biological men to enter these women's sports, compete against them, and inevitably beat them. It is unfair. It is factually unfair, and there is no argument that proves otherwise that can logically hold up in reality.
Gender athletes from all women's events, which ordinarily would seem like common sense. I mean, like 15 years ago, this would have been very commonplace, but no, not with our blue head overlords.
Hi, my name is Asa. I'm a member of the BID system, and I'm also a bearded...
Osa, they, Z, bone, brittle, all mentally ill things.
vulturetherian.
The International Olympics Committee, also known as the IOC, has not yet implemented this restriction, but apparently is edging.
It should have been implemented when the first transgender woman wanted to compete in a women's sport. They should have just immediately said no. Since you are a biological man, it is unfair to the rest of the women. No.
Closer to it, especially going into the LA Olympics in 2028.
The International Olympic Committee is moving towards a blanket ban on transgender women competing in women's events. We also understand that there's been discussions about reintroducing sex testing, something that existed from the 60s until the late 90s. Now, the IOC is taking this decision or moving towards it because so many other sports are. Athletics, swimming, cycling amongst those who have decided to ban transgender women from women's events.
It's almost like it's unfair. It's almost like women don't want to be put in the same categories as men. It's almost like sex is immutable and not assigned at birth. According to The Guardian, multiple sources expect such a ban to come into effect in the next 6 to 12 months, with the new IOC president, Christy Coventry, making clear that she wants to drive through her campaign pledge to protect the female category. Christy Coventry, who took over the IOC in June 2025, said in interviews that she is interested in preserving women's sports, which honestly makes like a ton of sense given that she's a former athlete herself and probably secretly hates all of this and thinks it's insane.
I mean, it's, common sense. Why would you put a woman against a man? A biological woman against a biological man? Why? There is no logical argument you can make that would make that okay.
About the rest of you, but I feel like something in your brain chemistry fundamentally changes when you watch a man beat the crap out of a woman while everybody around him steel claps like a lunatic. And the sporting buddy who's supposed to be protecting the woman is like, nothing to see here. Some of these out
I love that guy. He's so fucking funny. I love Naked Gun. But yeah, I remember years ago there was a transgender woman UFC fighter who fought against a biological woman. So a biological man against a biological woman. That trans woman beat the ever-living fucking shit out of that woman. She was covered in blood and she was rushed to the hospital. And you're telling me you think there is not a single problem with a trans woman competing against women? If you're telling me that there's no problem, you need to fucking educate yourself, because your IQ is in the negatives for that.
Outlets speculated that the decision here is also hinging somewhat on the fact that Trump signed an executive order that prevents trans-identified athletes competing in women's events. Considering that the next Olympics will be held on US soil, the IOC getting in line here would avoid a lot of conflict with the Trump administration. Not to mention, the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee implemented a ban on trans people competing in women's Olympic events on July 21st, 2025. So, you know, there's that. But this is not even the kicker here in this story. You guys are gonna love the kicker, let me tell you. Are you ready? Here it is. Do the voiceover, Sydney. Tell them. Okay, filming Sydney, I'm going to tell everybody in a second, but first, I want to tell them about something equally important, and that is the sponsor of today's video, Raycon. You're probably wondering, Queen Sydney, what is that thing around your neck? And that is a great question. These bad boys are Raycon's newest innovation, called bone conduction headphones, which
Oh, I've heard of these. I've seen plenty of these where they basically, it's just sound vibrations going off the bones around your ear that basically transmit the sound the same way as regular earbuds or headphones do. It's just they don't go in your actual ear canals, and you can still hear regularly, but also while still hearing the actual thing that's coming out of the Raycons.
sounds actually really metal. Now, of course, I still love Raycon's normal everyday earbuds, but these bone conduction headphones are incredibly innovative if you're someone who doesn't like having earbuds in your ear. Your bone conduction bad boys send sound through vibrations in your bone, which sounds so metal. Your ears are open to the world around you while you listen to music, podcasts, or even make calls. If you're like me and you don't have Wi-Fi in your car, for example, it's an old model, don't judge me. You can listen to your favorite podcast while being able to hear the traffic around you, which is honestly really helpful and probably a lot safer. Raycon's bone conduction headphones are built with a 13-hour battery life. They are waterproof and dustproof. And the best part is they're also insanely affordable, especially as we go into the gift-giving season. Now, admittedly, I actually use regular everyday Raycon earbuds all the time. I love these, they are my favorite, but these are incredibly cool, especially for somebody like me who, as you guys know, I'm losing my hearing, and it's nice to not have to shove something into my ear, so color me impressed.
I want to shove something in your ear.
That's gross. So here's the deal,
I think that's like her boyfriend or something. Oh, that's hilarious.
Noodles. Black Friday is just around the corner, and Raycon, for its audio products, has up to 30% off site-wide. From everyday essentials to new releases, yes, you are correct that it is the time to get ahead on gifting. So click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/SydneyWatsonBC to save on Raycon audio products site-wide. Apparently, this new policy could be instituted as soon as January.
Speculation that the IOC would introduce a new policy as soon as January intensified on Monday after it was reported that its Director of Health, Medicine, and Science, Dr. Jane Thornton, I think that's how you pronounce it, had given a science-based review of the evidence to its members last week, showing there were permanent physical advantages to be born male. No fucking shit. That's like common fucking sense. Like I said before, we are bigger, we are stronger, we are more durable, and we are faster. That is just how we are built. That is how evolution built us.
2026, and this speculation intensified in the last little while after the IOC's Director of Health, Medicine, and Science, Dr. Jane Thornton, gave a science-based review of the evidence to its members, showing there were permanent physical advantages to being born male. It is almost like water is wet, unless it identifies as ice.
Water is not wet. Water in and of itself is not wet. Something being wet means that water was, or some liquid was put on it. So, water in and of itself is not wet. If you put water on something, that something has become wet. That is just logical. Water in and of itself cannot be wet because it's just how it is.
Completely and utterly goes without saying, but it is mad. It is absolutely mad that here we are, sporting bodies acknowledging that men and women are different. The very reason we have male and female categories in the first place is because we are different. Something we have understood for like literally forever.
I don't understand why there are some people who have such a problem with the fact that men and women are different. We can never be the same. Men and women can never be equal. And there's nothing wrong with that. And for you to think that there's a problem with that, well, I'm sorry for the way you feel, but that's just how evolution made us. We are different. I think it's a good thing we are different. And we also have flaws. So men and women are not the same. We will never be the same, and there is nothing wrong with that.
It's suddenly a fact again. Don't get me wrong. I'm very glad that these people have finally treated their brainworms, but my God! The IOC doing this, just by the way, is sort of to be expected because over the last number of months, basically since Trump took office, a bunch of sporting bodies, particularly here in the United States, have reeled back allowing men to participate in women's sports, and some of them have even brought back sex-based testing. And, I mean, realistically, let's not forget how utterly embarrassing the Paris Olympics were, with how much drama was surrounding the whole thing, especially with the Algerian boxer, Amin Khalif, who the IOC went to bat for, who turned out to be a male anyway. What are we doing here, IOC? What are we doing? Now, I fully believe that there will be a new ruling around this. I fully believe that we are going to see more and more sporting bodies around the world, not just in the United States, but around the world, pulling back on allowing trans-identified individuals to participate in women's events. I mean, only recently, World Aquatics banned a swimmer called Hannah Caldas for 5 years and disqualified Caldas's records after the swimmer refused to do sex verification testing. The article that I'm quoting here is somewhat confusing because it makes the claim that from 2002 to 2004, Caldas competed in the men's division, which would make Caldas a man, but apparently the U.S. Masters Swimming Buddy, which is a swimming buddy that deals with this kind of thing, also reviewed Caldas's information and determined Caldas is a woman. But this is in fact the same organization that has refused to protect actual women in the past, so, you know.
According to reports, a review by the USMS concluded that Caldas had documents that demonstrated she was assigned the female sex at birth and that she identifies as female. Those reports also state that the suspension came after Caldas refused a gender verification test. It almost sounds like he's refusing to prove that he's a female because he was actually born a male. Shocking, I know.
X for doubt. Needless to say, World Aquatics issued the following statement. The Aquatics Integrity Unit has imposed a 5-year period of ineligibility on the master swimmer Hannah Caldas, running from 18 October 2025 to 18 October 2030, due to violations of the World Aquatics Integrity Code, the policy on eligibility for the men's and women's competition categories, and the operational requirements to the policy. So with this in mind, I'm going to be Oracle Sydney for a second and make a prediction that I do think that the IOC will, in fact, ban men from women's sports. Although, to be very clear, that hasn't happened yet. It's just speculative that it's on the horizon, that it's coming down the pipeline. But I really do think that it goes to show just how much momentum and support this movement has lost. There was 100% a period of time where people would have pearl-clutched over the idea of not allowing trans-identified individuals to compete in women's events, and now it actually just seems patently insane that we allowed this to continue. But this isn't the only area where the trans movement continues to fall apart. In June, the US Supreme Court upheld Tennessee's 2023 ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapy for minors.
Good. Ban them. Ban them all for minors. Anyone under 18 should not be allowed to have access to or to get any of these puberty blockers or any of these sort of stupid shit, because they're still minors, kids, not of legal adult age. See, for me, if I had a kid and they truly believed and continuously believed that they were born in the wrong body till after 18 and told me this, I'd be like, all right, I'll support you, but I will not financially give you any money to change your gender. If you want to change your gender, and this is truly what you want, then it must be you that decides to pay for it. This must be your decision. This must be your responsibility and everything else. I'm not going to be responsible for changing your gender only for you to later on decide that it was the wrong decision to do. You must make the decision yourself and all the consequences that come with said decision. Any doctor who, issues out these medications that are like puberty blockers and any such thing like them, and who also does these sort of transgender operations on kids who are not of 18 or older, they should lose their medical license and their ability to practice medicine. That's just how it should be. That should be law. You do it on anybody who is 17 or younger, you immediately lose your medical license and you lose the ability to practice medicine.
Justice Roberts wrote that the states have broad authority to regulate such medical procedures for youth. This effectively also endorses similar bans in over 20 states. Just recently, in early November 2025, the Supreme Court lifted a lower court injunction, basically allowing the Trump administration's January executive order that would limit U.S. passports to male and female sex markers to go ahead. Meaning that weird people cannot use X on their passport in order to indicate that they're non-binary or Therians or whatever.
So I got my passport back yesterday. I sent it in for a renewal and figured I'd try to get a gender marker change. And it came back with an M on it. And I feel so conflicted because on one hand, I want to celebrate, but on the other hand, the reason why I remembered to go get it out of my mailbox was because I saw the announcement that the Supreme Court has made it so you can't change your gender marker anymore.
Today, the Supreme Court...
Well, yeah... We're not gonna, keep championing mental illness like that. We're gonna stay based in reality, logic, and stuff that's actually scientifically true. Because scientifically, there are only two genders, and there will only ever be two genders, male and female, because that's how evolution made it.
Overturned a lower court decision and decided to allow the administration to ban trans people from updating our gender markers on our passports or selecting an X marker for your passport. The Supreme Court takes very few cases every year, and they decided it was a priority to allow Trump to be pointlessly cruel towards trans people.
What am I even looking at here? I also just read that an Ohio federal court ruled that nobody can compel schools to use a student's preferred pronouns. Which again, I think should have always been...
Yeah, see, you can't... If you want somebody to use your preferred pronouns, the best you can do is respectfully ask them to do so. You cannot force people to change their speech or the way they talk, or you can't force language on people. You cannot do that. That's not how life works. That's not how reality works. You cannot force language on others. You can respectfully ask them, but you cannot force it.
The case, and it's crazy how many teachers have been fired over the years because they didn't want to call a child a they them. I think they should sue. I think they should sue everybody. So yes, there have been a bunch.
And for parents forcing this bullshit on their kids, or affirming this sort of shit with their kids, and just endorsing this mental illness, you need to do better. because 9 times out of 10, this is just a phase for the kid, and they'll just go right back to what they originally were. Because that's just how kids are. They go through phases. And at some point in their life, they'll just revert back to how they were, and they'll just go about their life regularly. Like, some kids will say, like, they feel like they're a girl, and maybe some days or some months or a couple years later, they'll go right back to just being a boy. Because that's just a phase. That's just how kids are. They go through phases. But for you to, as soon as they say, oh, I feel like I'm a girl, and then you just go hardcore into that and just start dressing them like a girl, start giving them girl stuff, start just doing this, affirming this stuff and just continuing it, that's being a failure of a parent.
Of policy wins lately, and admittedly there have been some not quite losses but setbacks. I don't want to get into those in this video because it might impede the CPR, but there was actually something that happened very recently that I think really indicated just how much people now are publicly and outwardly willing to indicate how little they support the transgender movement. This situation happened towards the end of...
I think people would have kept supporting the transgender movement if they didn't go fucking all psychotic and extreme with the shit that they're doing, because that's what they did. We gave them an inch, and they took a mile. That's what they did. They're basically in extreme mode, and everybody's getting fucking sick of it.
October 2025, and like I said, I think it really does go to show how many women are sick and tired of this and totally willing to speak out, and also just how many people also feel similarly about these situations. It took us a while, but we got here in the end. I am absolutely positive that the majority of you have heard about this by now, but essentially...
Man in the women's locker room. I've heard it, and also some people trying to make it so that it's okay for trans women to go into women's locker rooms or bathrooms. And I think that's very, very horrible. And you're letting a biological man into a couple of women's spaces where women are supposed to feel safe and not feel like they're being stared down by another man's gaze. And yet here you are letting a trans woman a biological man into these women's spaces. What the fuck? You're basically not caring about women at that point. And I don't get it.
A woman called Tish Hyman was in the women's locker room at a Gold's Gym in LA when
this is hilarious. So look, you see her shirt, it shows XX and then XY. It's pretty fucking funny to see that. And actually, hang on, you might not be able to see it because of my model. Hang on. Let me There you go. There her shirt shows XX and XY. That's pretty funny.
she encountered Alexis Black, a trans-identified male who was in there with her.
Today I was naked in the locker room. I turn around and there's a man there in boy clothes, lip gloss, standing there looking at me.
Woman blasts Gold's Gym for their response after she encountered a transgender woman in the bathroom. Do you agree or drop a comment? Do you agree? Okay.
Butt naked. So the first thing I think is maybe there's a worker in here. Maybe I missed the sign. I say the word sir to say, sir, what are you doing in here? He goes, don't talk to me. I'm a woman. I have a right to be in here. Immediately, I'm pissed because I'm butt naked. I feel violated. I feel like weird. Like I don't want to deal with this, right? And then
See, here's the thing. If you want to help transgender people, make a transgender space. Like, make a transgender bathroom so the trans people can go in there instead of, the woman's bathroom or locker room. And if at that point these people are complaining that they can't enter the woman's bathroom or locker room, then you can tell that these people, they're being creeps. because they have a transgender space, but yet they're complaining about not being able to go into the women's area. If you had that, then at that point you can tell that the people who are just saying they're being trans for the sake of wanting to, be a creep and just go into these places so they can see women, and the people who are actually trans because they'll see like they have their own space and their own area and be like, cool, we have our own area. You'll be able to tell the creeps from the regulars.
I talk to the people that work at Gold's Gym, and they don't really have anything to do. They just like, oh, we can file a report about it, incident report. What the is going on? Like, listen, how can you say you're a woman or you want to be a...
These companies can't do anything, or they don't want to do anything because they're more worried about how they look to the public than their own customers. They care more about appearance than taking care of the people that are actually paying for their shit, which is completely ass backwards.
Woman, and you don't care how women feel.
Full disclosure, I don't get changed in the locker room at my gym because I'm sensitive about my body, but there's always lots of like naked older women in there, and like you do you ladies, whatever, but I can't even imagine how horrified they would be if a man just boldly walked in there. And wait till you see what this man looks like. Black allegedly stared at Hyman, made inappropriate comments, including referring to, genitals and how straight women like said genitals, despite her asking this person to go away.
How are you? Did you tell me or not that women like to see dick?
I'm sorry, this is just a straight up man. Even for a trans, even for somebody who identifies as a trans woman, he looks nothing like it. He just looks like a guy who put on an earring and wanted to go into the women's area just because he can or because he wanted to see some shit.
Exactly. Get out of the way now. No. Now he knows how to be a man, right? Now he knows how to be a man. Stay out of the women's locker room. We don't want it. He needs to have his gym membership revoked for that shit. And the woman told you. He assaulted me. The girl told already. We already filed reports. No. That's fine. I want the video. You can't get rid of me for this. I'm a woman and I have every right to not want a man in the restroom when I'm naked. There are girls naked in there. Look at them walking in there like it's okay. It's not okay.
The nerve of this human being to be called out by a woman and then proceed to walk back into the locker room that you're being chastised for going into. The nerve here is staggering. This is why I firmly believe that we should not empower crazy people. Hyman was seen in yet another viral video shouting in her gym about a man in the women's locker room, asking that the gym staff take action.
Gold's Gym! Men! Grown men with big dicks in the women's locker room! And that's why I'm getting kicked out, and I want to make sure the girls know. The fuck? Everybody saw that man in the locker room. No one saying shit. And I'm done with it. It's stupid. It's dangerous.
The upshot was that the staff escorted Black out of the locker room temporarily, but not from the gym entirely, citing California law, which allows access based on self-identified gender. Hyman was ultimately banned from the gym and had her membership cancelled, whereas Black's membership remains intact as far as we know. Gold's Gym also issued a statement acknowledging the incident, but stood by their policy, which basically prioritizes inclusivity. Now, on its own, it's very clear that this situation was very distressing for Tish Hyman herself, but also it was incredibly poorly handled. But it's 25 and this happened in California, so you know it gets worse.
Oh, California, the state is just absolutely fucked.
Alexis Black, the trans-identified male, also spoke to TMZ because of
Transgender woman in Tish Hyman locker room Controversy response.
Of course, this person did that. And basically told them that Hyman's concerns were fear-mongering. Black also said that Black wouldn't feel safe in the men's or the trans-only locker room.
So there is a trans-only locker room, and yet he still decides to go into the women's locker room. See, this is what I mean. He's going into the women's locker room, even though there is a trans locker room or the male locker room. He's just going to the women's locker room because he's a fucking creep.
Let me understand this. You wouldn't feel safe in a men's facility or a trans facility, so therefore we get to feel unsafe with you? I told you, the goal of this person. Now, as most of you probably expect, this completely blew up online. This went super viral, and the difference here, I think, was that rather than Tish mostly getting attacked, and I'm positive that she has been attacked, I saw a ton of people, a ton more people I would say than usual, rallying behind her. Even our canceled gym friend, Joey Swole, turned up to defend her. He posted her video and wrote, "Women have the right to feel safe in locker rooms without men. Shame on Gold's gym for not having Tish's back, but I do. I will make sure she has a gym she can feel safe at." And hilariously, when he was accused of transphobia, instead of apologizing like he did in the past, this time he doubled down. We love to see growth. He tweeted, "My defending a woman that was verbally assaulted by a man convicted of domestic violence where he broke his ex-wife's jaw is a far-right grift. Wanting women, including women in gyms that are minors, to be able to change and feel safe in locker rooms without seeing grown men naked isn't political, nor should it be, and shame on people like you who make it so." Joey, I am glad that you learned your lesson about apologizing to the mob.
I like Joey Swole. He has completely valid takes for a lot of the stuff that goes on in gyms. I like the guy. He's cool.
Did was in fact weak and sad, but I am glad that you're back. There is something uniquely empowering about telling a bunch of mentally ill people who believe themselves to have the spirits of animals to go and Anyway.
The people who think they're two-spirit or some Therian or whatever bullshit, I believe are even more mentally ill than the regular trans people.
It turns out that Alexis Black, who is originally from Ohio, was convicted back in 2022 of domestic violence. Black's ex-wife was assaulted by this freak, leaving her with severe injuries like a compound fractured jaw, which required surgery. Black also faced drug-related charges. Are we surprised by this? Not really. And I mean, actually, on top of this is like the psycho icing on this cake. This individual calls himself Alexis as a first name, but that actually turns out to be this individual's ex-wife's first name. So her name was Alexis too, which, yeah, that checks out as well. This stuff is dark, guys. I tell you now. This is like a weird skinwalking situation that a lot of these people typically do, where they pretend, it's so weird to explain, but they will assume the appearances, the names, the whatever of the women in their life. I should make a video about it. You guys will be just disgusted the whole time. Anyway, so like I said, this situation absolutely 100% blew up. And again, like I said, I saw so many people going to bat for Tish Hyman outside of the usual suspects. And for me personally, just sort of as a third-party observer in basically all of these situations, I do think that that is a really good indicator. On an actual statistical front, like people answering surveys and things, I know that a lot of people are completely burned out on the trans issue and they are so sick of it being front and center in everything. And honestly, I really get it. I really, really, really get that viewpoint and how people have arrived at that position. But I do think that it is really important to keep making strides forward with relation to protecting women's spaces and just protecting women generally. I think the potential policy change over at the IOC is a massive step in the right direction.
It is sad that we have come to the point in our society that we have to make these rules. It's just like common sense was shot in the head and buried 6 feet down and then completely forgotten. And now some people are just doing like a Frankenstein thing and just reviving common sense because they're so fucking sick of all this bullshit. It's just, it's amazing that we've got to this point. It should have never got to this point. It should have never gotten this far. Sadly, it has, though. And I'm glad it's going back to how it should be, where people are getting sick of these mentally ill morons thinking they can keep getting away with the stupid shit that they're getting away with.
I think the policy changes coming here in the United States, being put into effect here in the United States, are a step in the right direction. And although it is sad, I am quite grateful that at least somebody, apparently in the land of sporting people, is realizing that there are in fact biological differences between men and women, and because of those biological differences, it's really important to make sure that women don't get beaten to a pulp. And you know, bottom line, I really am very happy to see the rejection of the ideological grip that the trans movement has had on basically everything for a really long time. But with relation to the Gold's Gym situation, I do think that the public response that we've seen, the massive outpouring of support that we've seen, does indicate that a lot of people are done excusing predatory behavior that is sitting behind the veil of gender identity. If you have been here part of my community for any length of time, you already know what I think about all of this, so I will not rehash it for the millionth time. In the end, and going forward, I am of course incredibly interested to see what the IOC does and whether or not a ban will materialize here. And as with basically every topic that we talk about on this channel, we're just gonna have to sit back and wait and see. Now on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder, check out Raycon using the link in the description. I am actually like quite shocked by how much I like the bone conduction headphones that they sent me, because that is not something that I would ever have bought for myself, but I realize how much now I don't like having earbuds in my ears compared to wearing them. So if that is something that annoys you, maybe these are worth checking out, and just checking out generally what Raycon has to offer, because now is the time. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Are you on my side of this issue where you think that the IOC is 100% going to follow through with a ban on trans-identified individuals in women's sports? Do you think that these are just leaks, they don't mean anything, it's probably not going to come down the pipeline? Are you somewhere in the middle where you think, this probably doesn't matter so much, so why are we even really talking about it? This is such a nothing burger, this is so silly. What do you think of all of the other policy changes that have come into place? Are they good? Are they bad? What do you think of the passport marker situation? Is that good? Is that bad? Is it discriminatory? Is it unfair? Or is it a return to sanity, like a lot of us have been hoping for? What do you think of this gym debacle? Do you think that Tish handled this correctly? Do you think that it's surprising that she lost her membership over this? Do you think it should have gone a completely different way? What do you think of the individual in question being a criminal? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here and you're not subscribed already and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to the channel, as well as leaving this video a like and a comment, because I do read the majority of them and I like hearing your feedback. As I always say, I hope you little chickadee people stay safe and well and make good choices and have a very good week, and I will see your wonderful little noodle heads in the next video. The celebrities. Oh no!
Well, I honestly think that it's a good thing that they're starting to realize that they need to put these rules in place. It's sad that they needed to be put in place at all, because it should have been common sense that none of this should have gone on. It should have not have been allowed. It should have been shut down the moment it started. But, you know. Sorry, I was typing something. But yeah, because like I've said before, men are just built with an overall advantage over a woman. So why would you allow men to compete with women? You're just giving women no chance at all in anything. So what the fuck? Well, that is the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give a like and subscribe. I post videos 3 to 5 days a week here. I also post videos over on my other channel for gaming as well, so please make sure to give that a look-see, see if you enjoy that as well. I also stream anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week as well. Links to all my social medias will be on my YouTube page. And with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.